So how does a nation get weakened? A nation gets weakened when the ignorance of the people about their own culture, their own roots increases, or when they become ashamed of themselves or their forefathers. Now, this is what happened in case of India when India was under the colonial possession of the British for almost 200 years. Hello everyone, my name is Rahul Das and you are watching History is Interesting. So British were intelligent enough to understand that India's strength lies in its spiritual heritage, its culture and its traditions, which was kept alive in India by India's traditional education system. So the British were pretty much clear that if they want to keep India under their colonial possession, then they need to replace India's traditional education system with their own Western model of education, where they will be taught that Western culture and traditions are superior to Indian culture and traditions, and after a certain period of time, Indians will start hating their own cultural heritage, will lose their self-esteem and will become a truly colonized people. So there were many British officials and intellectuals as well as some Indians like Raja Ram Mohan Roy who were instrumental in replacing India's traditional education system, but the most important role was played by Thomas Babington Macaulay. So who was Macaulay? Macaulay was one of the law members in the Council of Governor-General William Bentinck. He was also made the president of the General Committee of Public Instructions. Now, this committee was formed to decide what kind of education should be imparted in India and in what language, that is, in English language or in Indian languages such as Sanskrit or Persian. On 2nd February 1935, Macaulay issued his famous Minute on Education. Now, this is a very important document and I would recommend you to please go and read this document. It is available for free download over internet. So, this document is basically a blueprint of the Western model of education which was imposed on India. In his Minute on Education, Macaulay himself admits that he does not have knowledge of any Indian language such as Sanskrit or Persian, but he asserted that a single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia. Now it is very difficult to understand that without knowing a particular language, how can a person even assume that there is nothing worthy to be read or taught in that language? There are many people in India who believe that it was the British who actually introduced education for all sections of Indian people, and that before the British, education was the monopoly of some high caste Hindus. But this was not the case, because by introducing Western education, British only wanted a class of persons who were Indian in blood and color, but English in tastes, in opinions, in morals and intellect. In other words, they only wanted few Indians to be educated so that they can act as intermediary between the rulers and the ruled. On the other hand, India's traditional education system was extremely robust with at least one school in every village. And many pre-independence data of surveys done by British officials themselves show that there was no discrimination on the basis of caste or class as far as India's traditional education system was concerned. Look at this data for example. So this data is of 1822-25, which states that in the largely Kannada-speaking Bellary, the proportion of twice born, that is the Brahmins and the Vaishyas who were going to school, was 33%, while the Shudras and the other castes accounted for about 63%. And the position in the Oriya-speaking Ganjam was similar, the twice born accounting for some 35.6% and the Shudras and other castes being around 63.5%. It is only the Telugu-speaking districts that the twice born form the major proportion of the school-going students. There are numerous other survey data documented by Sri Dharampalji in his outstanding book, The Beautiful Tree. This book also demolishes the myth that education was the monopoly of few upper caste Hindus, because as we saw in the data earlier, the proportion of students from lower castes were more than the proportion of students from upper castes. Dharampalji himself drew the title of this book, The Beautiful Tree, from the speech of Gandhiji, which he gave in the Round Table Conference in 1931, where he said, "Today India is more illiterate than it was 50 or 100 years ago, and so is Burma, because the British administrators, when they came to India, instead of taking hold of things as they were, began to root them out. They scratched the soil and began to look at the root and left the root like that, and the beautiful tree perished." So this is how British destroyed India's traditional education system and in a way weakened our nation. But the sad part is that even after independence, we continued with the same Western model of education. See, history tries to teach us lesson. It depends on us whether we learn from our past mistakes or not. So if you like the video, then please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you find the video interesting and informative, then let me know through your comments, and also share the video with your friends. Dhanyavad.